which is another aspect of calculation. Do you know what generic types of defenses there are when you are faced with a check on your king? Please try to answer this question before we go on. Please pause the video. Okay, let's compare answers. Well, when asking for generic types of defenses, I'm asking for different sorts of defenses that normally apply when your king is faced with a check. So before you see a position where it is black's move, and black can now play rook e8 to h8, checking the white king. Now, during your pause, you may have come up with the next 3 generic types of defenses when your king is faced with a check. The first is, of course, to take the checking piece. The second is to interpose something between the checking piece and your king. And of course, the third generic type of defense is that you move your king out of the check. Well, in this position, it is possible for white to play bishop takes h8. So taking the checking piece is possible. And in this case, it would even lead to a winning position if you know how to deliver checkmate with knight and bishop. The second possibility is also available here. White can interpose his knight, like so for instance, which would not be so handy because then he would lose the knight on h4. But he could also interpose the knight on h2, right? Okay, and last but not least, there are also 2 possibilities of moving the king out of the check, for instance to g2 or to g1. Okay, well, it's quite obvious that of course the best move here is the taking defense, so bishop a1 takes h8. Okay, now when faced with a check on your king, which is basically an attack, it pays off to know the mechanism of defense in this case. So when faced with a check on your king, you can either take the checking piece, you can interpose something, or you can move. And you could abbreviate these generic types of defenses to T, I, and M, to Tim, for instance. Yeah? So if you're faced with a check during the game, you can always run down these 3 methods. Can I take? Can I interpose? Can I move my king? Okay, some players tend to first try to move their king out of check. But this is normally quite a timid attitude towards the problem, and of course, as in this situation, it pays off much more just to take the checking piece. Okay, so having the acronym of TIM handy can help you in your game. Okay, now this might be very simple, but what I want to do now is go on to another position and transfer the idea of attack and mechanism to situations where it is not your king, but another piece attacked. Okay, well, yes. Okay, so now we transfer this mechanism to positions where there are no checks, but one of your other pieces is under attack. And then all of a sudden, since there is no attack on the king, which is normally a very absolute situation, things become a little bit more relative, and the number of generic defense types also rises. So my question for you is, can you name a few, and a few more than just T, I, and M, which of course also apply when one of your pieces is under attack? Okay, please pause the video. Okay, well, when one of your pieces is under attack, of course you can also, by means of defense, try to take the attacking piece. So Tim is, T for Tim is still there, yeah? Of course you can try to interpose.